Right now I am in Milan, which is in the north of Italy and at the center of its biggest metropolitan area. And in this video I'm going to cover the best of Milan and my experiences of my first day in Italy. So right now I am in front of the Milan Central Station. Very daunting building, a very impressive one. And I just got here after 30 hours of traveling on 2 flights from the Philippines in Manila and then a bus ride from the airport to here. So I've only slept less than 4 hours in the last 30 hours. So it's gonna be a day with a lot of coffees. So Milan is basically the financial and industrial center. The Italian Stock Exchange is also based in Milan. It's also like paradise for anyone that's into shopping, into football, nightlife, into operas, and it's kind of different from southern Italy. The culture is very different in northern Italy because there's a lot of like German influences, because this city was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and it's still pretty close to Austria and Switzerland. The city is actually only 20 kilometers from Switzerland itself, so the culture is supposedly very different. Right now I'm going to take a tram to my hostel, and I bought the ticket for the tram using the app, which is very convenient, which means I don't have to take my cash out in front of Central Station where there's like a lot of scammers and stuff. I think I see my tram actually right in front of me. Validating my ticket. Man, Italy is one of my favorite countries ever. I'm so excited to be back that I don't even feel jet lag right now or sleep deprived. Hi, I have a reservation.
Yes, it's inside on the left, the second floor.
Okay, thank you. So you have to call in and then they let you in. So the hostel is really cool and it's got like really small, cozy hostel vibes. I like it. And I just came to the store and I had to buy this lens for my camera because I lost my main vlogging lens for my camera 3 days ago in the Philippines, I think in the airport. So I had to buy that and it cost like 360 euros, but I should be able to get some tax back. Let's see, I'm just happy to get my lens back so we can start the vlog properly. So finally starting to get a bit sleepy, so I'm gonna get some Italian coffee, espresso. Can I get an espresso? So I have to pay, I think?
You can pay.
Oh, there. Here. Yeah, I ordered it there. Thank you. Now, I got an espresso. So I'm far from a coffee connoisseur, but that was some really good espresso. Now it's time to get some pizza. I'll have that one. Yeah, half of that. Okay, so the reason I got this for takeaway is because in Italy, in most places, doesn't matter if you're ordering a coffee or a pizza or something, if you want to sit down at a table, that adds like an extra price to your food. It's an extra 2 euros, maybe more if you're in a touristy area. And I didn't want to pay that, so I got it to go, but I'm kind of regretting that because unlike Serbia, there's not like benches in every corner of the city that I can just sit on and eat it. It's a very unique thing to me, at least, about Italian pizza as opposed to pizza almost anywhere else, especially the States, is that they make it in big squares and they like cut it up into rectangular pieces. So I got 2 different kinds. Okay, first one I'm gonna try is the cheese and potato one. Ooh, hard to eat with one hand while holding a camera with the other. Solid one as always. One of the reasons I love Italy so much, you'll always find good pizza and good pasta. Time to try the second type. Not as messy as the first one. Tomato. I guess this is the classic margarita. Pretty good. So most people say that Milan is not as pretty as the other famous Italian cities like Venice and Rome. And a lot of that is due to the fact that during World War II, during the bomb raids, a lot of the old buildings were destroyed. On top of that, it's not necessarily like not as pretty as the other cities. It's just got a different kind of look. It's not the traditional or stereotypical Italian city that you think of like red clayed rooftops on every building. It's more of a gray look. It's made out of like different stones. And even the modern buildings have more of like a grayish color. All right, now I'm gonna go to the historic center of the city where you're gonna see some old buildings. So the cool thing here is that I can just use my phone again, the app, to just like tap. So behind me right now is the Duomo. or the Milan Cathedral, which is without a doubt the most iconic spot in the city and the most iconic monument for sure. This is actually one of the largest Gothic cathedrals in the world. Looks a lot like some of the Gothic cathedrals I saw in other places like Barcelona and all. And this is actually technically the largest church or cathedral in the Republic of Italy. You might be thinking that the Vatican has St. Peter's Basilica, which is like the biggest cathedral in the world. But the Vatican is not technically in the Republic of Italy, it's its own country, so that doesn't count. But yeah, this is pretty impressive nonetheless. Construction for this thing was started back in the 14th century and took like 600 years to complete. So this was finished not too long ago. And it's without a doubt the most remarkable thing you're gonna see in Milan, probably architecture-wise at least. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that Milan has a lot of churches that are older than a lot of the churches in Rome even. That's because Milan used to be the capital of the Northern Roman Empire. So I don't exactly know what was happening right there, but one of the more common scams in Italy, in the famous places, is the people that give you free rice to feed the pigeons, so you can take a picture with the pigeons, and then ask you for like 5 or 10 euros for like this much rice, literally. So I got a combined ticket for the Duomo for 16 euros, or like $18, which should cover the rooftop and the inside, and like a museum too, which I'm probably not gonna go to because I'm not really interested in that right now. So I'm taking the stairs because one, it's cheaper, but two, I can take the stairs anytime. If I was taking the elevator, I would have to be there at a certain time slot. So I'm on the rooftop and this part is actually really pretty. So I'm on the roof itself, and I was expecting this to be flat, but it turned out to be shaped actually like the roof of a cathedral should be. And there's a good view from the top. You can see the city and the landscape of the big buildings and everything, but it's not like the nicest view I've ever seen from the top of a building. So I've been to like many large cathedrals in Latin America and Europe, and large buildings of prayer, but this has to be one of the biggest ones I've ever been to. I think this might be the second biggest worshipping place I've ever been to after St. Peter's Basilica, of course. So also in the historic center is this building called Teatro alla Scala, which is one of the most important opera houses in the whole world. And I don't really know a lot about opera houses, so I'm not going to talk too much more about that. So another thing that Milan is really big on top of finance, is fashion. A lot of you might already know this, but like along with Paris, Milan is one of the 2 fashion capitals of Europe. So a lot of the biggest fashion brands on earth, like Armani, Prada, Louis Vuitton, are actually headquartered in Milan, which is why they have Italian names. So twice a year during the spring and autumn fashion fairs, the biggest fashion people in the world, the biggest supermodels, the biggest paparazzis, all end up coming to Milan, and the streets are crowded with a lot of fancy people. So also at the center of Centro Storico, right next to the Duomo, is this incredible piece of architecture called the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, named after the first king of Italy, Vittorio Emanuele. And this is the oldest active shopping gallery in Italy, and I think might be one of the oldest ones in all of Europe. But it's pretty impressive. You'll see a lot of the showrooms for a lot of the biggest brands like Louis Vuitton behind me here. The clothes here are definitely not my style and definitely outside of my budget range too. So right now I am at San Siro, which is a bit far from the center. You have to take like a few metro lines and you can easily get lost if you did what I just did. The metro lines are a bit confusing here. But this is probably one of the most important buildings of Milan. Most of you, any of you who probably don't care about football or like European football, would probably not know about this or would probably not even want to visit here. But to anyone that likes football, this stadium is pretty important. This is host to not one, but 2 of the best teams, or best club teams in the history of football. Inter Milan and AC Milan. A lot of my favorite players have played here, like including everyone I liked from the old Italian national team. Ronaldo, my favorite player of all time. Not Cristiano Ronaldo, but the Brazilian guy. He played for both AC Milan and Inter Milan. If you asked me when I was 18 anything about Milan, I didn't really know much about European or Italian history back then. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything, but I would definitely be able to tell you the starting lineup of AC Milan back in like 2010 or something like that. So many amazing games I've seen on TV has happened here. So this place just has a special spot in my heart. It might not be relevant to all of you, but it's really cool for me to be here right now. So for the last stop today, we're in front of this basilica called Santa Maria del Grazie, which is near the center of Milan, not too far. And it's a very special building because it hosts one of the most famous works of art in the world. Leonardo da Vinci was one of the most famous artists ever, one of the most famous Renaissance artists for sure. His second most famous piece of work after the Mona Lisa, which is in the Louvre, is this massive mural painting that he drew on the walls inside this cathedral, or inside this basilica, called The Last Supper. That is like almost 30 feet from one side to the other and is one of the largest works of Leonardo da Vinci. And it shows this scene or story from the Gospel where Jesus Christ is having his last supper, his last dinner with his 12 apostles. And the story goes that at that point he knew that one of them was going to betray him, which was Judas, who's also in the painting, and he announces to his apostles that one of them is going to betray him. That's the most fascinating thing about this painting. It's such a jam-packed painting. There's like so much going on. There's so many different characters, so many different emotions, so many different interpretations to how the different characters in that, or how the different people in that painting are reacting. That's kind of what makes this painting immortal. That's what made it very special back then. That makes it a very special work to this day. So I've known about this painting for a long time because the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown was one of my favorite books like 20 years ago whenever I read it as a kid. And that painting was actually a big part of that book where they're trying to solve this mystery. And Dan Brown comes with this like ridiculous theory about like one of the apostles in the painting not actually being his apostle, but being like someone else. You should read the book. I'm not gonna spoil it in this video. That's why I've always been fascinated with this painting and with like Renaissance art in general ever since I read that book. Thanks, Dan Brown. Sad part about this painting is that it's been largely destroyed from like environmental reasons and other reasons over the last 500 years since it was painted. So now it's not very well preserved, and whatever is left, not everyone gets to just go in and see it. And in order to go in and see this painting, they only let in like 1,000 people a day. You usually need to book tickets like 3 months in advance, which I forgot to do. Which is why I'm outside the building right now and I'm just showing you stock footage from inside the building. So if you come here, make sure you book your tickets way in advance. You don't pay almost anything. It's like a few euros. Or even if you're like coming last minute, there's ways to book it last minute and it costs like more than $100 maybe. But sometimes if you wait too long like I did, you can't even find that. One of the other things that makes this place so cool is that, you know, we're now used to seeing like 3D photographs and paintings and stuff, but Leonardo da Vinci was really ahead of his time in his way he captured space in paintings. That's why it's one of the most special works of art in history. Alright guys, I'm back in Duomo and I'm gonna end the video from here at the center of the city. If you like this video, please do like it. If you want to watch more, feel free to subscribe or follow my Facebook page. And if you want real-time travel updates, I've been posting a lot of them. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Nadir on the go.